How's it going, YouTube? My name is Christian with Plan Your Federal Retirement, back with another video with our All About FERS series. Excited to be in our Anchorage office today as I'm recording this video. Today, I wanted to do a video talking about the FERS supplement, and in particular, how would working affect your FERS supplement? Now, when it comes to your FERS supplement, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with how the FERS supplement came about, but under the old retirement system, under CSRS, folks weren't paying into Social Security, so their pensions were much higher when they retired. Now, under FERS, you do pay into Social Security, but the soonest that you can retire under the normal FERS benefits would be your MRA, which would be no later than age 57, depending on the year that you were born. So if you retire at 57, but cannot have Social Security until as soon as 62, the FERS system was developed to create the FERS supplement to bridge the gap between retiring earlier than being able to turn on your Social Security benefit at age 62. Now, a few things came from this, and the biggest one being, well, how would working post my federal retirement affect those FERS supplement dollars, because it is tied to the Social Security benefits. And so today I wanted to talk about that. Number one, when it comes to the FERS supplement, you have to make sure you're eligible for it. And that would be retiring with an immediate unreduced pension under FERS. So what are those thresholds? That's your minimum retirement age with 30 years of creditable service, age 60 with 20 years of creditable service, or age 62 with 5 years of creditable service. That's the normal unreduced benefits that you can retire under FERS. Now, folks who are special provisions have a different set of rules for their eligibility, and that would be retiring at age 50 with 20 years of service, or age 55 with any amount of creditable service. And you guys know who you are if you're special provisions, right? Law enforcement, firefighters, air traffic controllers, that group of folks. So what I wanted to do was talk about how, like I said, working post-retirement affects that FERS supplement that you might receive. So I thought it'd be good to draw out a timeline starting from the soonest that you would be able to receive that FERS supplement, kind of all the way throughout into retirement. So what we're going to start with is actually age 50. And the reason why it's 50 would be for our folks who are special provisions, right? That's the soonest they can retire, age 50, unless there was, some other early out or something like that. But age 50 would be the soonest you'd be able to start your retirement, again, for special provisions. So then fast forward, we're going to go to your MRA. That's another important date. Then we're going to go to age 62. And then we're going to go to your full retirement age under Social Security, which the latest being age 67, depends on the year that you were born. And then the timeline continues for your life expectancy. So on this first part, we're concerned with the FERS supplement. And how that works is if you retire at 50 with special provisions, you have your FERS supplement that goes through until your minimum retirement age, which would be the latest being age 57, depending on the year you were born. And there's no reduction, there's no penalty for an earnings limit on working between whenever you retire under special provisions all the way through your minimum retirement age, which is nice. You can go separate as special provisions, go work a job. You're not going to be subject to that earnings limit. Now, that changes once you reach your minimum retirement age, and same for if you're eligible for it under non-special provisions, either it being somewhere between your minimum retirement age all the way through 62. Now, that's when that earnings limit kicks in. And that's for the year of 2024. The earnings limit is $22,320. That $1 gets reduced for every $2 above that limit. So what does that mean? Well, if you go and you retire and you're collecting your pension, that's not going to be subject to the earnings limit. It never will be, which is nice. If you have rental income that's coming in, right, that's not going to affect your benefit, your FERS supplement. But if you go and you work a job where you're, getting a W-2 or you work as a 1099 somewhere, an independent contractor, those dollars are going to be affected by that earnings limit test. And let's use an example. Let's say you just decided to work part-time. And conveniently, let's say you worked and earned for 1 year $42,320. Well, you would subtract that from the earnings limit test, which says $22,320, and you'd have $20,000 above that. So this says that for every $2 above that $22,320, that $1 gets reduced from your FERS supplement. So in this case, that would say that you would have a reduction of $10,000 from your FERS supplement. And that's on the year, right? So if let's say your FERS supplement was $1,000 a month, 1,000 times 12, that's 12,000 for the year, right? Then we reduce that by your FERS supplement, or by this earnings limit from the FERS supplement, then we'd only be having a $2,000 FERS supplement, right? Just as an example. So that's just something to be thinking about, is if we plan to work post-retirement, but we're under age 62, how that might affect your FERS supplement. I'm not saying don't go and work, don't go and have that, but if we're kind of on the fence, or we just weren't aware that that's how it worked, well, now you do know that. Now I'm going to be talking about Social Security, and in particular, working once you've turned on your Social Security. So I'll just draw out the earnings limit timeline is what I'm coning it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, the date that you retire, whenever that is, all the way through, your full retirement age with Social Security, and then continue on for your life expectancy. So somewhere between when you retire and then 62, this would be, talking about folks who retire younger than 62, that would be if you're eligible, and if it applied, you would have the FERS supplement, again, assuming that you are eligible for it. But then once you turn 62, that FERS supplement goes to zero, it goes away, and now you have the choice of whether to turn on your Social Security. And so depending on what your time horizon is, on when you plan to retire, this is where it's going to be very important to understand the rules related to Social Security so that we know how turning my Social Security benefits on might affect or might be affected by me continuing to work. So in 2024, the earnings limit test for Social Security says that we have $22,320, that if we earn $2 above this, that $1 gets reduced of your Social Security benefit. So I like to say that $1 gets reduced for every $2 earned above this limit. Okay? So if you're working and you're still working under FERS, probably doesn't make sense at all to turn on your Social Security benefits prior to reaching your full retirement age under Social Security. And that's going to be at the latest, age 67. And it depends on the year that you were born. So be mindful of what your full retirement age is. But if you're working under the federal government, unless you're working part-time, right, probably doesn't make sense to turn on your Social Security benefits if you're still working, because you're going to be subject to that earnings limit test. Now, there's some different rules that apply the year that you turn your full retirement age, and those are a little bit more favorable. And that says that the year that you turn your full retirement age, there's a higher limit and the reduction smaller. Then the month that you turn your full retirement age, then it goes to zero. And then we're no longer subject to the earnings limit test. So one scenario would be, you're working with the federal government, probably don't turn on your Social Security benefits if you're still working, right? Because pretty much all of that money that you're earning, most of it, if not all of it, would be taken away from Social Security benefits. Wouldn't make sense to turn it on. It'd be for those who retire before their full retirement age, that this would be something that we'd have to think about. And what does that mean? Well, if you retire under FERS and you're collecting your FERS pension, the good news is that your FERS pension is not going to be subject to the earnings limit test. And again, neither would, having rental income. This would be working a job and having W-2 income, or maybe you're an independent contractor, 1099 income, what I like to call sweat of the brow income, that work that you're actually performing. Then this income would be subject to that earnings limit test. So you can have a scenario where you retire under FERS and you're collecting your pension. That's not subject to it, but then you go work a part-time job, or maybe you work full-time. If you're going to work full-time and you're going to be making a significant amount above this 22,000 number, probably wouldn't make sense to turn on your Social Security benefits, because most of that could be reduced. And so the example I'd give is, let's say that you made conveniently $52,000 and $320. Then we would take that number and we would go how much is above that 22,000 number. And we'd see that, okay, we're $30,000 above that earnings limit number for 2024. So this says that we're $30,000 over, so that $1 is reduced for every $2 over. So that would mean that our Social Security benefit would be reduced by $15,000 in this scenario. Well, if your Social Security benefits more than $15,000 a year, that meant that your Social Security benefit didn't go all the way to zero, but it could be significantly reduced. However, there's a scenario that we can say, maybe I'll go work part-time, very part-time, and I'm not going to earn any more than this $22,000 number. Well, in that case, it could be an option to turn on your Social Security benefit before your full retirement age, if you're going to be under that earnings limit number. But the other consideration would be, if it applies, what does survivor benefits look like for you? If you're married and we turn on our Social Security benefits earlier than our full retirement age, that has an effect on our surviving spouse, God forbid, if we were to pass away. So we have to be mindful of survivor benefits as well, and how turning on your Social Security benefits affects our spouse, again, if we're married. And so that's just something to be really thinking about. The action item here is understand your eligibility rules under the FERS system, know when FERS supplement starts, when it would stop, and then have a plan post-retirement if we're going to be planning to work and where our sources of income are going to come from. We've done videos talking about that retirement income timeline. This is brought in to know, does it make sense to turn on our Social Security benefits or not if we are still planning to work? So hopefully this was helpful in understanding that. Again, make sure you check out that other video talking about how working affects your FERS supplement. If you have more questions related to this, make sure you leave that question below in the comment section. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel so you get our latest videos and content that we're putting out. And of course, until next time, happy planning.